Ready to go? Let's go. All right, we'll go ahead and call City Council business meeting to order. This is Thursday, January 5th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Lindsay, would you call the roll? Sorry.
Right. Councilmember Lester.
Here.
Baker.
Here.
Reba. Here. Cool.
Here.
Livingston. Here. Mayor Tom Phillips.
I am here as well. So we do a quorum. We'll go ahead and move forward. Item number 2 is Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3 is approval of the agenda. Would anybody like to move any of the consent agenda items to the regular agenda?
Motion.
Second. Motion and second. Motion by Livingston, seconded by Reva. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Motion carries. Item 4, welcome guests and public comment. Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate you being here and participating in your local government. We'd go ahead and open up the dais at this point in time for, if you'd like to address council for non-agenda items. We'll give you a 3-minute time limit. Realize we can't take action on those tonight since it's not on the agenda. Also, if you'd like to comment on any item that's in the consent agenda, now would be the time. So if anybody like to address council tonight? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move on. Item 5, presentations. Item A under there is the 2028 strategic plan and goals quarterly update. So this past year, we did a goal setting session with a stronger emphasis on action planning. This just means our goals were just a little bit more focused than before. As far as for strategic, this process involved department heads and council. What was most interesting was how well our thoughts aligned with staff as far as council goes. It's a good sign that we are all communicating well and we're attentive to what Norwalk needs. Once we completed the goal setting, I started to think of how our updated goals were strongly correlated with our Vision 2028 goals that was done back in 2018. So I sat down with Luke, our city manager, and asked that he find a way to communicate this correlation. And from there, the city manager and clerk have worked to organize our vision and then worked with staff to assign tasks associated with each goal. So today we're here to review the 2022 fourth quarter action update of the vision, goals, and ongoing action. So Luke, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, first I want to thank Lindsay. She did a lot of work of assembling this quarterly update and even the work on putting together the presentation materials. And then, of course, our staff and council have all done a lot of hard work. This is a fourth quarter update, although this is the first time you've seen one this well organized. Again, I'm going to thank Lindsay for the help on that. Down at the bottom, so the mayor covered the overview items there at the top, but the part that I wanted to focus on were the champions. And it's something a little unique for me. Up until we did our 2018 goal setting, I've never seen the elected officials from a group take on such ownership of projects. So I thought it might be helpful to actually touch on each one where the champions for each project have been. So the first one, Mayor, I think the key one that you've been working on is the core project, where you've been instrumental in helping us move that along. That's our recreation facilities, Center of Recreation Excellence. We keep saying core, although I know that name may change at some point. Jackie, Norwalk Central, which includes the core, the sportsplex, maybe a hotel, a grocery store, and on and on. A lot of projects happening there. You've taken a lot of time and been involved with that, so thank you. David, you saw our Main Street project happen as part of our Founders District. And kind of next up, we're going to see some infrastructure improvements. And I would say a real key part is going to be the sidewalk and trail project that comes along with that to connect Oviatt and even connect some kids with middle school and high school. Brian, I'm excited to say that you might have seen the most progress of anybody. I know it's a lot of behind the scenes because the time you spend with Gene and working through finances and also on with economic development. But although we're seeing some slowdown on the housing side here recently, and we expect to see that a little bit further, your big focus was being a champion for pushing those commercial projects forward and increasing that taxable valuation. And we're seeing a significant amount of commercial projects start. In fact, Luke Paris and Elliott and our community development department informing how many different site plans are coming through and different commercial projects. Plus the new construction we see down there in our, hopefully part of our next certified site, already the dirt that's moving. Ed, you probably picked the most challenging of all of them, and that's our mixed use and mixed density development. Sometimes mixed use and mixed density can be difficult for people, but our new comp plan that was adopted recognizes a need for that and identifies several areas. I know you put in some time as we've worked on the Norwalk new urbanism, which is not off the ground yet, although we've had a number of discussions with different developers and a lot of ideas across the community. I'm hoping that in 2023, we see that come through and take place. Last but certainly not least, Stephanie, you are close to being able to say mission accomplished, since we have a connection with now the Great Western Trail. That was huge. Although I think I recall hearing you curse a few times as we rode our bikes up and down those steep hills for the ribbon cutting. But all joking aside, there's still a lot more to do. A lot of parts of Norwalk that aren't officially connected. In fact, even maybe your neighborhood will have an official connection to our trail system here in the near future. So thank you all for putting in the time, move those projects forward. So the next few parts of this are going to involve some input from our staff. So as we go through with these, each one of our projects or kind of some of those individual goals are related to work that some of our staff are doing. So the first one, our vision to increase quality jobs, this kind of took on two segments. One, of course, our jobs within the community, and other one is just the performance and look at our own staff internally. So Carrie is our HR director. So I don't know if you want to cover this first one.
Yeah, I absolutely can. From an HR perspective on the school, we continue to review the staffing needs to ensure that the city is providing excellent services to Norwalk residents. A few weeks ago, we presented the 5-year staffing plan. And while we just present that to you one time a year, that's something that we're all continually working on throughout the year and reassessing. This year, fiscal year 23, we've made a lot of increases to wages for our full-time non-union employees. But in fiscal year 24, we're going to be focusing on making similar adjustments to the union employees' wages as well. We have the Public Works Department, Fire Department, and Police Department that were under contract, so we're not considered in the previous study that we did. So we'll be focusing on them, as well as working toward increasing part-time wages as well as seasonal.
Thanks, Carrie. And Holly, I think you're going to talk about growth of the jobs on the private side.
So we've had really good growth in Norwalk in the last 5 to 6 years. In just the last 3 years, we've had 60 new high quality jobs that have been created. And so we gauge that through the state's threshold based on wages and job type. And then we have 80 new projected high quality jobs pending for 23 and 24 based on the projects that we're working on right now and the data that they've provided to us, those companies. And then approximately 1,000 new full-time jobs were added to the Norwalk market over the last 5 years, just from the commercial and industrial projects that have come online. So we continue to see that growth happening, especially with the Southwest Industrial Corridor. Obviously, the larger industrial projects bring a lot of jobs, and they are starting to bring more of the high quality jobs. So we'll continue to track those numbers.
Any questions for Carrie or Holly? Next one is the tight-knit friendly neighborhoods. And this one, I'll handle this. Ongoing encouragement to bring people together. And some of the ones that we wanted to note on ongoing events, encouragement to bring people together would be Music Fest, Front Porch Norwalk, the parade, Summer Read, Pancake Breakfast, Cops with Carts, just to name a few. 2022 goal is to host a city expo event. And as staff, we spent a little time talking about this, and we're probably going to want to make a little bit deeper dive with some of our work groups, just to understand exactly what we mean by an expo, whether that's a job expo or where that's another state of the city. So we'll be taking a little bit deeper dive on the meaning of that as we move forward. Trails. This one, Robin, I thought you might want to talk about the trails topic.
Sure. So we're currently working with Bolton and Mink to construct trail connections along Elm Avenue. That includes a pedestrian crossing on Highway 28. So getting the families from the west side to the east side connect to Ovia Elementary. And in the past 3 years, we've added close to 2.5 miles of trail just in the Great Western Trail connection. And we, with the Elm Avenue and the other side paths down there, we're going to add another almost 1 mile of trail in 2023. Also within this goal is the update to the master park plan. The last one was completed in 2018. And so future CIP funding will include updating that master plan. Part of that is to reflect the parkland acquisition, which I presented to you guys a few months ago. Since 2018, we have acquired approximately 186 acres of parkland. And in addition to what we had in 2018, in the current master plan for parks, our goal is to have 15.5 acres per 1,000 residents by 2030. We are currently at 20.54, and we're on track to be at 15.5 in 2030. So
Excellent.
Yep.
Thanks, Robin. Next one, animal control and licensing, looking at our overall management of animal control. And I'll cover this one as well. I think this is one where our police department, public works, community development, this is a component where really those three groups come together. I don't know so much as we really have an issue with this today, but being the growing community that we are, we anticipate this is something that would also become a growing thing to focus on. This likely means something that gradually becomes more something under the PD umbrella. So Greg and I have had a few internal conversations. I would imagine we'll bring those few departments together and take a closer look at what happens down the road. Next item is 30% tax income from commercial. Make a strong commitment to the Southwest Corridor expansion. Holly, this is another one for you.
Yeah, so I have some fun numbers to throw out there to you guys. I did get just fresh off of Jean earlier today. So we've made a lot of progress towards this goal. We know that as we continue to grow with residential, that's hard to close that gap unless you stop growing in residential. But we've made some pretty good headway because in 5 years, we've doubled our dollar value of commercial and industrial. So we went from 46 million in our industrial and commercial value in 2017 to 101.5 million last year. So that's 120% increase in our value. So we're obviously working very hard to close that gap and doing a pretty good job with that. So we also added almost 200 businesses to Norwalk since 2017. So that came from some data that I got from the Greater Des Moines Partnership because they have all the good programs to pull that. So we're heading there as fast as we can. And yes, the Southwest Industrial Corridor project is very important. We have some of our developers here tonight that are working on the first piece of that and the Dunn Industrial project. So we know that that'll bring a ton of new value to us with those industrial projects and expand our area for growth. We'll continue to work on our regular standard or traditional type commercial projects that we have several areas in the community that we're continuing to work with. And just reading some of Luke's notes in here. Floodplain, I don't know, that one's yours, but.
Well, and some of these are working items. I mean, we're even giving you status here because this is an update showing you where we're at in the process. For example, it says conducting bi-weekly meetings with Mark from Snyder. This is the company that's doing the corridor study plan, Snyder and Associates. So I actually meet with Mark on a bi-weekly basis to get updates.
And then the certified site process starts in 2 weeks. And so we do have developers again ready to enter into that program, as well as hopefully another larger landowner in that area. And if we can get that land submitted and accepted to be our second certified site, that will really make us competitive, not just statewide, but internationally for these companies. So we'll work hard on that. Chris is, that's his mission this year. So.
Thanks, Holly.
Mhm.
First, full service recreation complex, Center for Recreation Excellence. This one is primarily Robin, although there's a lot of background work that has been done by Luke Paris, Holly, Jackie, and many other staff. Mayor, you've certainly been involved quite a bit on this one. DeNovo has been a key partner for helping us move that forward. So I'll just kind of cover generally that the city is well on its way to making this a reality. We're looking to break ground here in 23 this spring, so it'll be fun to see that happen. And then we'll begin to receive monthly updates from DeNovo, whether that comes in writing or in the form of them attending a few of our meetings to give updates. We're looking forward to that. Robin, did you have anything else to add on that one?
Besides breaking ground, I mean, we're currently already working on programming in this space with our own programming and identifying what organizations want to rent the space as well.
Next one is mixed use developments. And this is a relationship to rewriting and doing an overhaul of our zoning ordinance, to modernize that code. Luke, do you want to take this one?
Sure. As you mentioned earlier, mixed use development is kind of the trickier one of some of these to get going. We do through, our North Central and Hughes Century Crossing, we've done some work as far as try to get some mixed use feel type things. It's yet to see how that area develops out, if any of those components are part of that. Though we did learn through that process that a lot of our zoning as a kind of base doesn't really allow us to do those types of mixed use developments. Our comprehensive plan that we just did, contemplated some more mixed densities and kind of going that way and identifying some nodes in the community where we can do more intense commercial and residential development. So really the next step with that is to take a look at our zoning code here in the next couple of years. Probably starting internally with us doing some staff audit and some staff review of things and starting to mark things up, and then going into I think we've currently in the 25 CIP, we're looking at doing a full rewrite of that. So spend the next couple of years working on getting some footing on what we want to change and having discussions with you all about that.
When we use that term mixed use, mixed density, I think everybody here at the dais certainly understands that. It's a good thing just to say to the public, anybody that's watching YouTube. Mixed use developments typically see all the commercial here and the industrial here and your residential over here. But more and more we're seeing the capability of maybe commercial on a first floor with some type of residential above. That would be a mixed use. Mixed density might be, instead of having just a bunch of single family homes here and an apartment over here, maybe there's a chance to somehow integrate with some tighter densities, with some smaller lot sizes next to some larger lot sizes, some townhomes.
Which I also mentioned our new urbanism, Norwalk new urbanism project we're working through is kind of another thing that we're kind of actively working on. So we've got a couple active things that we're trying to crack this one on, and then also coming at it from the regulatory side for knowing those future growth areas that aren't going to happen in the next 5 years, but probably the next 10, we want to have this stuff in place so that we can work on those projects as they get proposed.
Next one is safest city in Iowa. Council and PD to hold a work session to determine how to measure this. It was kind of interesting. Out of some of the discussions at a staff level on doing this update, we had the Parks Department say, well, you know what, if we're talking about a safest city, park and recreation does have a place at the table, whether it be giving kids things to do after school to keep them busy. It's more than just the police department out patrolling. It's also fire, EMS, the availability of those kind of resources, the library for what they offer people for location, public works, clearing streets. So we want to take a little bit, maybe do a deeper dive with council at some point and really dive in and understand that being a safest city really has a lot of tentacles and different ways of looking at how we define a safest city. With that, Greg, did you have anything that you'd want to add or go over?
I just wanted to point out and remind everybody that in the community survey that was completed last fall and presented to us in the spring of this year, that the number one reason why people wanted to live in Norwalk was for safety and security. So to me, the best measure of a safe city is what the residents feel. Fear of crime is measurable. We do it every 2 years in a survey, and the residents tell us if they feel safe or not, and currently they do.
A good indicator.
Yes.
And we plan to continue doing those surveys, and that tends to be a consistent item that shows up on that each year. Town center developed, Norwalk Central. This also is kind of a culmination of a lot of different staff. Robin, Luke Paris, Holly, Jackie, like I said, you put a lot of time into this. That Norwalk Central infrastructure is moving along quickly. We've certainly seen a lot of development there already. A big hurdle that's being overcome right now, which I think they're making progress. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Holly.
They just got the okay yesterday, so
They
that's
did.
done. Yep.
Good. We'll update our status then. Well, before I go further, do you have any other updates on that you'd like to go over?
I did get an update from Brian with de novo on our core building timeline. So everything's been ordered. They did give a delivery date of the building by June. The drawings will come back in on February 10th. Everything else is on time, so everything's moving along well there. I think Luke's got something on P&Z coming up for the Sportsplex building. The elevation, they've done some pretty cool design features with that, so that'll be on P&Z and then to you guys on the 19th. And other than that, yep, everything is just on target. And then Diligent gave an update too on the commercial parcels, which is pretty exciting because all of the commercial parcels in Norwalk Central are under contract. So it leaves the town center parcels. There's 2 of those, one smaller one and a little bit larger one. A portion of that town center piece is also under contract with the hotel. So that's all moving along really well.
You know, another big component of Norwalk Central, the regional detention pond. That Wayne, I believe that is significantly complete. They just have some punch list items left to do.
Correct.
So that's a little bit more out of sight, although I think once people have a chance somehow to see the size and breadth of those detention ponds, it is quite impressive.
What was the issue with one big?
One okay, it's the gas main. They just, they just had to give get an approval from them. It took a while, but they got it.
Yeah, that's that main gas line.
Oh, yeah.
Dissects. You know, the last bullet item.
Oh.
Sorry, what was that?
We're
It's pronounced one.
1-0. Gotcha. I've always said 1-0. Thank you. The other part of that is just the amount of commercial projects that are somewhere in the planning phase out there in Norwalk Central. Holly, I think you said you're waiting for an update from the developers there, if they've been able to confirm anything, any further projects that'll probably come forward maybe during later updates.
As far as announcements,
Yes.
yes. So they will be announcing probably within the next month or so the names of the users.
Cool.
Vibrant downtown. we really want to further explore the vision that council has of defining a vibrant downtown. It was kind of interesting as we dug in a little bit. We started thinking, well, there's really two main terms to vibrant. One has to do with a feeling or activity in an area. The other one is a little bit more visual. We also started to think with Norwalk Central going in, that is a new downtown, but yet we do have our existing downtown, a little bit smaller, but certainly not to be forgotten. So just like some of those other items, we anticipate this coming forward as maybe more of a deeper dive with council to understand that a little bit further. So there'll be more to come there. So that's all of our big items with those new goals that fall under that. Council, Mayor, any questions?
Appreciate the presentation, the way that it was done with staff interaction.
We will keep doing it that way in the future, and these will come forward. They'll continue to come forward quarterly. Mayor, with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
So on Norwalk Central, the project, they say that they're gonna announce in a month. Maybe tell them to that.
So for each user, so depending on how fast their due diligence goes with each one, that's what they wait on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the full closure.
All right.
But good try.
That way we find out. Okay, moving on. Item 6, consent agenda. We have expenditures, some tax abatements, approval of the December 15th, 2022 minutes of the regular city council meeting. A resolution to approve amended City of Norwalk financial policies. Resolution approving Parks and Rec to purchase a field drag and laser level vehicle from the fiscal year 23 CIP budget. A resolution ordering construction of certain public improvements, PCC pavement widening on the intersection of Beardsley and Iowa 28 Sunset Drive. Approving plans and fixing a date for hearing thereon. We have a resolution setting a date of meeting at which it is proposed to approve an amended development agreement with Diligent HCC LLC, including annual appropriation tax increment payments. A resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with GG Leagues for 2023. We have a resolution approving the Big Green Umbrella renewal agreement. That's for Norwalk Living Magazine. A resolution approving January 5th, 2023 commercial improvement grant application for 1409 Sunset Drive. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Cool, seconded by Livingston. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba. Yes. Cool,
Yes.
Livingston. Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7 is old and new business for consideration, discussion, and possible action. Item A is Norwalk Central Diligent Land Urban Renewal Amendment. So item I underneath that is public hearing on a proposed amendment to the Norwalk Urban Renewal Area. So we'll open up the public hearing at 6:28 p.m. At our last meeting, we pulled this area from our urban renewal area so we could restart the clock on TIF. This is being done because infrastructure that is being built right now that was added to the project. So we need to restart the clock to have TIF available to repay for that infrastructure. So it's important to note that the newly added infrastructure is happening due to requests from HH Norwalk and the city. And we appreciate that Diligent is willing to adapt and accommodate, make some accommodations for those revisions. Holly, what additional information do you have from this public hearing?
I would just say that our bond counsel gave us the direction to do this process because in order for Diligent to take on the work to do these 2 stormwater projects, essentially for the city, our bond counsel told us that this is the best way to go about it because they're able to have some cost savings that way since they're already mobilized to go out there and do these projects. And then while we're updating their development agreement to add in those stormwater costs, bond counsel told us that we needed to go ahead and just reset that time clock so that we have that extra 1 year is what the difference was to give us more time to pay back the infrastructure as well. So that's the procedure.
Lindsay, have we received any oral or written comments on this item?
We have not.
All right, any public comment? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:29 p.m. Item 7A 22 is a resolution to declare necessity and establish an urban renewal area pursuant to section 403.4 of the Code of Iowa and approve urban renewal plan amendment for the Norwalk urban renewal area. So we just had a public hearing on this property. We need to have council declare that a necessity exists to establish the urban renewal area. Holly, anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, any discussion, questions, comments from council?
I think we don't have a current. We removed it last meeting, correct? We don't have a urban renewal area in this.
Right, this is gonna,
It's gone. We don't have any.
right, we're just gonna add it back in.
So we deleted it last time. We're here. This is to add it back in. I'm just wanting to make sure that there's. The extension of the agreement really has nothing to do with this. It doesn't. The
It's what
agreement, this isn't
triggered
the
it.
agreement. This is the necessity of needing to pay for those improvements.
Right. Other comments, questions?
Motion. Second.
All right, motion by Cool, seconded by Baker. Any public comment? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba. Yes. Cool,
Yes.
Livingston. Yes. Lester.
Yes. All right, motion carries. Item 7A3. It's first reading of an ordinance providing for the division of taxes levied on taxable property in the January 2023 addition to the Norwalk urban renewal area pursuant to section 403.19 of the Code of Iowa. So this ordinance change is to allow the city to use TIF funds. So Holly, anything additional?
I think so.
All right, and Gene's online. Any discussion or you got something? No. Okay, any discussion, question, council? Or public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Livingston, seconded by Reba. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Reba. Yes. Cool,
Yes.
Livingston. Yes. Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7B is about the Norwalk JV22 LLC pending certified site 2.0 property. So item I, or 1, public hearing on proposed development agreement with Norwalk JV22. Boy, I can spit that out. Norwalk JV22 LLC. So we'll open up the public hearing at 6:32 PM. Holly, do you want to go over the proposed development agreement?
Sure. So really great project, and we do have a development representative here, Dan Carlson, that can answer questions as well. But the development group came to us maybe 6 months ago. It's moved pretty quickly. And they started the purchase of 39 acres of the Dunn property, which is just south of Michael Foods, and closed on a portion of that. They'll close on another section of that here in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So they've started their site work already, and the development agreement is essentially to repay them for the public infrastructure that they'll be installing with that north-south road right down the center of the property that you see there. So they'll be putting in that road and the related infrastructure with that. And then they'll start with phase 1, which right now is essentially just lots 1 and 2 that we will be attaching. 1, 2, and 3 will be attaching any new increment that comes from those buildings to this development agreement to pay them back for that infrastructure. So we have a minimum assessment of 6 million based on those first several buildings that will come in from those first couple of lots. And that is what we'll use to pay them back that infrastructure. I think we're scheduled at about 10 to 12 years to get that. It'll take to pay them back for that. And they do want to leave the rest of that land open. They weren't asking for any kind of increment or incentives on any of the land because they want future users to be able to have the ability if needed. So it's a pretty good situation all the way around for us. And they are willing to enter their site into the certified site program. So that'll give us an additional at least 25 acres that's not being developed yet that we can add into that program.
Is that phase 1 or phase 2? Or which part of that?
So we will be able to add in everything that's not in those first 3 lots into the certified site program. So yeah, phase 2 in
In the future.
the future. Yep.
Lindsay, we received any oral or written comments on this?
We have not.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public hearing at 6:34 PM. Item 7B2 is a resolution approving development agreement with Norwalk JB 22 LLC, authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement. We just had a public hearing on this item. And Holly, do you got anything to add?
I don't think so. Do you? Yeah.
All right, any discussion, questions, comments from the council?
So basically, this is an agreement over a 10-year period. Did I understand that correctly? That's the expectation.
Right now, based on the $6 million minimum assessment, it would take 10 to 12 years to pay them back for that infrastructure. But if their values come in higher, then it could shorten that time frame significantly.
Sure. Thank you.
A public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the resolution as presented?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Lester, seconded by Cool. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston. Yes. Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7C is a resolution accepting infrastructure and approving the final plat of Norwalk Business Center Plat 7. So this is to split the site at Rowett Cut Stone to section off a buildable lot. Luke, what do you got to add?
That's pretty much the gist of it. The lot on Hakes Drive there on the kind of northwest corner of the turn of Hakes Drive. The proposal there is to split that off to create a right around 0.7 of an acre secondary lot that would be fronted to Hakes Drive. Both lots, both new lots, the existing Hakes Drive lot or Rowett Cut Stone facility, and this new lot would have our minimum lot width at the street line requirement. So both of them would be buildable lots. From a staff perspective, we're supportive of it, trying to create more additional buildable spaces for commercial industrial growth in town, kind of in a unique scenario where we can try and make maybe a smaller project work. So all in all, we're supportive.
Questions from council, comments?
So this action here, the size of these would be in compliance with our requirements. This isn't any kind of exception.
Yes, no, we don't need to do any IPUD or variances for this. We're able to arrange the site in such a manner that it works with setbacks and everything. So
Has Rowett been notified? I mean, I know we've notified them several times in the past to stop storing stuff outside.
yeah,
But-
as we noted and we've talked with the property owners that prior to us releasing that and it being a lot, they'll have to remove all of those. And our last communications was that they had started removing materials from there. So yeah, we can't let it continue to be a thing while it's a now completely new lot. So that's kind of the line in the sand with the city on that one. But as far as we're aware, they are complying with that, and we'll do a check of that before we release it for final plat recording.
Oh, I think I'm just confused. So Rowett's gonna keep their current building,
Correct.
and this is a lot that is or is not owned or occupied by Rowett.
It will still be owned by them, but I believe their intention is to market it for sale.
Okay, so they'll keep their building and now there'll be another one building or possibly two buildings.
It'll be one lot. I would guess via the size of it, you're only gonna fit one more thing on there. But we'll see a site plan come back through prior to that.
Okay, thanks, I just didn't have. a
Sure.
full understanding.
Any public comment? Anything else from council? Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Livingston, seconded by Cool. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Livingston.
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, motion carries. Item 7D. Resolution approving a second amendment and restatement of PCS site agreement with Sprint Spectrum Realty Company LLC regarding lease property at 898 West North Avenue, which is the water tower. So this is to approve a new contract with Sprint for using the water tower as a cell tower. Lindsay, what you got?
Just that this will be retroactively effective to June of 2021 when this actually expired. It's shocking how difficult it is to get a hold of a cell company that you entered into an agreement with in 1996 or something like that. And they indicated upfront after discussions with them that they would remove the equipment from the tower by June of this year. And Jim and I worked with them, and in the agreement, if they do not, then their rent will double until they remove that equipment. It's not that we won't have Sprint service, it's just they partnered with another company and have other incentives available.
Discussion, comments, questions from council? Or any public comment?
Wayne, does that make you feel better to see less stuff on that water tower?
You bet.
All right,
Motion. Second.
motion by Lester, seconded by Livingston. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yeah.
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7E is a request from Kobe Klocko for approval of a plat of survey property on the east side of 50th Avenue north of Dakota Street. So, and there's a parcel ID on there too. So this lot is actually out in the county, but it's within our 2-mile halo. So we do have some say on how the property is going to be used. Mr. Klocko would like to use approximately 3 acres or so for a single family home. However, the amendment to the comp plan that was just passed shows that this land is designated as medium density. Another item to consider is that the proposed project is within our southwest corridor, which we have collectively agreed is a high priority for future growth. So Luke, what would you like to add?
Yeah, just on the, I guess, the procedural side of all of this, typically our plat of survey would be staff approved. When we look at that and we get that request in our office, if it's outside of the county or outside of city limits, we use our 2-mile halo. We see if it's within 2 miles and we have review authority. Our codes tell us that when we're outside of city limits, we should use our comprehensive plan as a guide for lot sizes and those types of things. So the area in question in our currently approved comprehensive plan is medium density residential. Our guidance from the comp plan says that we should allow lots ranging from 7,500 square feet to 1,500 or 15,000 square feet. So half an acre max, roughly, third of an acre. So the request there, we as staff felt like that's not something that we can staff approve. It doesn't meet our comprehensive plan. We have to deny that from a staff level thing. We have in the past, as a city, allowed applicants to request approval from the council. Out north of Twin Lakes, that kind of 3-lot subdivision was probably the most recent example of that. So we suggest we bring this forward to you all to discuss. I would recommend that if we did allow something, we want to be in conformance with our comprehensive plan at all times. So any change that we would do, subdivision that we would do, we would want to make sure we reflected accurately on our comprehensive plan. And we would want to go back and either do that before we approve something like this or retroactively, next thing we do, if you said, hey, Luke, go approve this today, I'm going to come back with you with a amendment to the comprehensive plan on January 19th. So. And then that amendment would likely be for a low density. Our low density would allow for a 3-acre piece. So that's what it would move down to.
Questions, comments, discussion, council?
How would this affect the southwest corridor plans?
It's not real clear. So I apologize, there's not street names labeled on there. The road on the south side of that map is Delaware. So the plans for Delaware to be kind of our main corridor heading southwest. That's obviously a little bit south of there. But then the 50th Street corridor that's the main north-south up to G14. So you really are looking at property that has 2 of the future major roads in Norwalk adjacent to it. So again, we're showing it as residential, so I don't think it really impacts our growth plans for industrial in the southwest corridor and that commercial industrial growth that we want to have. But as far as the types of residential and the more dense type of residential that we want to see as the city grows into a county area, that's certainly what we're anticipating there. You can kind of see there on the opposite side of the road. We've already had that kind of eaten up on the west side by rural subdivision lots. And so that side of the road's pretty much hamstrung from ever being anything but that. And so when the city's trying to do orderly growth, we try to avoid having those same things happen going forward. And unfortunately, in this scenario, this would be just one, but it would be kind of the one additional spot in there that would do that.
Really, the question, I think, is whether or not we want to amend our comprehensive plan, right? That's the effective. And I used to live on an acreage back in the fair state of Nebraska. Really enjoyed it. But in my mind, the things that I wonder about are, okay, sewers, you gotta have more sewer, you gotta have more street, you gotta have more water. And so if in fact we had a bunch of acreages out there, it's conceivable, it could be really expensive to service them. I know people don't think about that kind of thing, but that's sure part of reality for us. The other thing is, you know, we contemplate hopefully doing some adjustments out there to that main road and generating some commercial development out in that area, right? We also had other discussions of other developers previously that wanted to come in and stick an apartment complex in the middle of what we were looking at for commercial development. We turned that down because it wasn't consistent with our plan, right? So now the question I think we have to ask ourselves is how bad we want to stay with our plan, right? I mean, isn't that really the key? It is to me anyways. Nothing to do with people that are here, you know, that are asking for this. Really, it has to do with whether or not we want to stay with our plan. And I guess I want to stay with our plan. I would hope that there'd be a way to resolve this. Possibly they could take a look at changing the request to be something that would comply with what we've got, you know, for the plan or fit in better with the plan, right? But that's where I'm coming from. I don't know what you folks think.
So this shaded area is how much?
That is the larger parcel, 25-ish acres,
And so the
26.
26, and so. No, don't go down yet.
26.16.
And so the portion that we're talking about is 3+ acres on the lower left corner.
Yep, southwest, adjacent to 50.
Right
Yep.
next to another residential acreage
Correct.
across the street from 6 other residential acreages.
Correct.
And this is a property, sorry, that you guys own?
Soon.
Say it again.
I have it all parcel, as you can see, I have it all parcel final survey submitted. But then I ran into this issue with county things. So no, I don't.
You don't own it, but you want to buy this 3+ acres?
Yes.
Thank you.
So,
And in terms of servicing it with sewer and that kind of stuff, this is outside city limits, so while at some point it may become our responsibility, it's not currently our responsibility, correct?
For serving it with sanitary sewer,
Right.
correct?
But it will be.
It will be potentially, I don't know when, right? I mean, just because they build it doesn't, it only becomes our responsibility when it becomes our city limit,
Right.
right? And I'm just trying to understand. Okay.
When I looked at this, I agreed with Ed. And can you, I mean, I had the assessor site pulled up, so you can see how close it is to the curve that we're straightening out.
Sure.
Because we've spent a lot of time talking about this area and the curve straightening, and there, you know, might be a commercial node there. And then there'll be more higher density housing closer to the road and then G14 and then going down medium density housing. And while it's, I understand the desire to have a nice lot. And it is in character with everything around it. I think that when that starts developing, we're gonna have a situation where people say, how could you put this high density housing next to my home?
Okay, so I have two questions.
Yeah.
About what you just said. I don't recall a conversation or a plan that this is a curve we're straightening.
The S curve?
This is not,
Yeah.
right? This is not the S curve.
That's way out of the S curve.
It's not that the S curve, but look how close it is. Okay, so the S curve is up here. And if we get this commercial node here and then start putting, you know, this, we're talking 15, 20 years, whatever. But when that starts developing there and that medium density housing starts coming down, I fully expect that the homeowners there will object. Because we've had this situation already. Why would you ever put, you know, a 60-foot lot or 70-foot lot next to my 3-acre development? And I think we're just creating problems for future councils and planning and zoning and community development when we know that the character of this area will change. And I don't, you know, it'll be okay probably for the current homeowners, but when the home changes hands, or if they're not aware of the long-term plans for this area, I think it just could be a problem.
The sanitary, to give some context, you were talking about sanitary sewer. That next phase of sanitary sewer that we're working on will run approximately there. We have another phase, I believe it's planned in either fiscal year 25 or 26. We currently have sewer, runs along here, comes up to this location. And we have in the plan to run sanitary sewer up here. Ultimately, the location where they're talking would be that leg of sanitary sewer that would have to go up here.
Okay, but if I guess what I don't understand is the context of Ed's comment. Right, until such time as we do these things, we incorporate or we run sanitary sewer. The sanitary sewer out, if he puts a house there, is not our responsibility. I don't understand why that becomes problematic for that issue.
Well, I guess where I'm coming from is if we decide to change our comprehensive plan, right, to accommodate change, then we've got the possibility of an area to be developed into acreage. Right, they may not be the only one. And the next person that comes through the door to make the same request. I don't know, you know, generally what the yardstick would be to be able to tell them no. You know, maybe there is one, but I just think we create problems for ourselves that I don't think we need to have.
Well, I think our having this discussion now puts Mr. Flacco and anybody else on notice that in 20 years, our plan is to do something different with this area, and buyer beware. I also don't understand why, I don't agree with the notion that we are gonna prevent somebody from building there because 20 years down the road, we might do something when we are constantly revisiting, reorganizing, restructuring, reconsidering how, why, where, and in what fashion we're gonna develop. So I mean, I just have a different perspective about it.
I would think it might happen sooner than yours, but when it does happen, those lots, as I've learned, it's very, very expensive to do the large acreage lots, you have less homes per foot, however you want to say all this. Less homes, less property taxes per acre. That's one thing to think about, but also like Stephanie said, where you've got, you know, we just went through all of that and farther down with all the septic tank lots. Silverado. They were up in arms because we were putting in we weren't putting them in, but a developer is putting in small lots.
And I had a similar condition.
What other comments, questions you guys have? For public comment?
I guess only if I could say something, I would just reiterate what Luke said, that the proper way to do this would be amend. We're gonna have to amend our comprehensive.
If we pass it.
Yes, if you pass it, that's right. That's right. If we want to get to the point of passage, we can't go against the comprehensive.
Do we like our comprehensive? I tend to think we do. I do. I think it's well planned.
We did, I hope we did.
That's what I mean. I mean, we just.
Month old, right?
I hope we like it.
What's
Still
the
pretty
term on our
current.
comprehensive plan? What
Uh,
was it looking at?
2042,
2042, so. 1 year.
Yep.
When did we do our last comprehensive plan?
2013. Well, no, 2018. 2013 was the big one. Then we did updates in 16 and 18. And those updates in 16.
Fits right in with Jackie. I don't know. I'm in the world of Jackie.
We just talk about, Luke, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I remember is you saying, right, we should redo and reevaluate our comprehensive plan at least every couple of years. Right? So I just don't, I mean, I appreciate mindful planning. I appreciate forward thinking. I just don't. I don't agree that we can't do something today because we have a plan in 20 years that says it's gonna look different.
Well, we don't know 20 years.
That's exactly my
Could
point.
be
Mr.
50
Cool.
years, could be 10 years. be 5
Exactly
years.
my point.
But in
Depends on
5
the
or
Right now, it's
5 or
a
10 years, the
20-year
developer
plan.
could buy it from them and take it and turn it back into the medium density residential. I mean,
Depends on the economy.
Exactly my point.
Well, I appreciate your comments. I'm glad you made them.
Just to, I want to clarify, and Luke Paris, jump in if I'm stating this incorrectly. The comp plan that was done in 2013 looked at the community primarily within corporate limits. There was very little thought. Shouldn't say very little, but there was not a lot of focus on what was going on outside corporate limits. The update that was done in 2018 was in large part a reflection of the amounts of growth that we were seeing in Norwalk. The update that we recently did, because it would be a little unusual to do it every couple years, but certainly you want to revisit and make sure you're still on track. But the main reason for the most recent update was specifically to look outside of Norwalk corporate limits and specifically to that southwest area.
I think the idea was to try to influence the area around us so that we don't create problems for ourselves. That was the idea.
Right.
So. And I think we're trying to expedite our work in that area. We know it's a priority for us. I can't imagine us waiting 20 years to work on something this area.
Except that now we just talked about the significant downturn in the expectation that things are gonna come to a slow roll for the next however many years.
1 or 2 years.
Okay.
Yes. Well,
We don't know. We're like everybody else. We don't know for sure.
exactly.
No kidding.
We hope for the best.
That's my point.
We want to make it tougher on us in the meantime.
May I make a public comment?
Can you come up to the microphone and just identify yourself?
Well, Council, Dan Carlson, WB Realty. I do believe that the comp plan does identify certain areas of priority of high and low priority in different stages around the city. for expansion and acquisition per se of the city limits, that may be a good place to look for, if this region falls within those areas of a high priority to take that into consideration.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from council or public input? Why not?
Thank you. My name is Kobe Klocko, the one that's asking for this approval.
Your address too.
So currently live at 3163 Harrison Street, just moved out of 1605 East 18th Street as of today. So now I'm back in with the parents. I'm still homeless. I did all this work through trying to sell the house because I didn't know this was going to be kind of an issue. I wasn't aware of it. Took it to Warren County and then sent me to Norwalk. My end goal absolutely was to have a small acreage. I grew up on 8 acres south of town where I currently live now again. And I just wanted a small little acreage. I came from 1605 East 18th, that's 0.17 acres. And for the profession I do, I want to go to my residence or home and have some free space, something to do. I can't really do much on 1.7 acres. So my end goal is to build a forever home, just our single family residential with my wife and soon to be daughter. And then go from there. I just hope that this action can go through because right now I'm kind of banking on it. I have a plan with KRM Development, already signed papers, and now they're waiting on me to start breaking ground for this house. So.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so as I see it, you got 3 options. So your first option is to deny. Or your second option would be to approve. And then to direct and with the direction to community development to modify comp plan. Or you could modify the comp plan and that would allow Luke to go ahead and approve this after the comp plan amendment, correct?
Yeah, which would be the more procedurally correct way, I guess, to do it.
So.
Which if that were the case, we'd be back January 19th to do public hearing. We'd be doing a public hearing at some point.
Okay.
We'd have to do a public hearing process to change the comprehensive plan.
Okay. I would entertain a motion. Which one?
We don't have on the agenda, as I understand it. Discussion, I mean, the item on the agenda is to approve the resolution
Recommend approval of plot survey.
requested from Kobe Klocko. So that is the motion that I am taking.
So you're moving to approve the request.
For approval of a plat of survey.
All right, so I got a motion by Livingston, second by Lester to approve the plat of survey. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
No.
Reba.
No.
Poole,
No.
Livingston.
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion fails. All right.
I'd like to see them, see if it's possible for them to work with community development to bring it in within what the zoning plan is.
Right.
I guess that would be my comment. To see if we can still accomplish what they want to do and somehow make it.
I don't think they can do that though with.
Well, they're gonna have to
Because-
downside.
Right.
Survey now, a whole bunch of
half acre lots and buy them all at once.
Boy, yeah, so I mean, in theory, you could probably do that.
That's no different than someone going in and buying 3 or 4 lots at a development.
Usually you're gonna run into it, septic. I believe Spangsboro, you have to have 2 acres per septic. So if you have smaller lots, you're not gonna be able to handle sanitary sewer with septic, which require a public sanitary sewer. I know that there's a way to have a regional, I don't know if there's a regional private septic that's available. Where you can kind of set those sort of all lots. Right. I haven't seen it done, but I've read about them. It would be messy. I don't know what the standards are on that or whether that would be allowed. But that's what you would run into is you can't form that small of a lot because a septic.
Yes, sir.
Kobe, I'll give you a last word.
After talking with Elliot, he came back and told over the phone, he was telling me that that lot size of mine that I'm asking for 3 acres is not the lot standard size, which I get for that medium thing. And I asked him about what's the potential if I could do something to make it fit in there. Well, he told me that per 1 acre of land, the end goal was to put 5 to 12 houses on there. And I just came from a 0.17 acre lot, and those houses I can touch like this. In a safety point from what I come from on a background, that
What is that back?
I am a current firefighter, paramedic, was full-time with the city of Norwalk, still part-time. I currently am full-time with the city of Des Moines. So I kind of look at it as the aspect of kind of the space, my own kind of space for my mental health, relax a little bit, but also the safeties of others. I'm not trying to pack in homes that you can touch. One starts on fire, the next is just gonna be, we just haven't had that happen here in the city of Norwalk yet. And we've had plenty of residential space that you can touch, and on a safety concern, it's an issue on my side. So after discussion with Elliot, going from 5 to 12 houses per 1 acre, I didn't want to build a house on 1 acre.
Right.
Because I'll just buy a house again here on a 0.25 acre lot.
Right.
Just a little farther out.
And that lot size fits all the standard sizes around that area. And I know there's a lot just to the south of me that just put up a barn a couple of years ago, a year ago.
Yeah.
And now it's for sale again out there. And there's potential that that person could potentially build a house on that property also. Which there's room.
Yes, sorry.
Jim, just something that I had been thinking through with this request and everything, and I don't know, and maybe something you can research from Iowa code standard. There is a procedure called shadow platting or ghost platting, where it's the idea that you allow a larger piece to be split off, but then you identify a building site or a smaller sublot on that same lot. And you say, basically the idea is like, look, you can have your 3 acres, but focus where your house is at on a lot that meets our code. So then later on, when things develop, you don't have a house sit in the middle of 3 acres. It's sitting off to one side or something. I don't know. I've never done that. I've heard about it in other areas. I think Wisconsin does a decent amount of it. I don't know if Iowa allows that, but it seems like that would be an applicable situation. If we could figure something out like that, would seem. Yeah.
I don't doubt that they don't really look to accommodate he's a lifelong resident of the area and he serves the city and everything else. So we can certainly look into that and try to figure out a way to get this accommodated.
It'd be nice to be able to accomplish that if it could be done.
Yeah. So,
So-
yeah, we'll look at trying to figure something out.
Thank you. Okay, item 7F. It's the second reading of an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Norwalk, Iowa by rezoning 1305 Sunset Drive to the 1305 Sunset Drive infill plan unit development. So this is a rezoning request for the property to make it an infill PUD. This is the old Stover's Photography Building that's right to the south of Jones Dental. Luke, do you have anything additional for council?
Nothing new.
All right, any discussion, questions from council? Can I get a motion to approve the second reading? Motion by Rivas, seconded by Livingston. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston, Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7G. Second reading of an ordinance providing for the division of taxes levied on taxable property in the December 2022 addition to the Norwalk urban renewal area pursuant to section 403.19. The Code of Iowa, south of Delaware on the pending certified site 2.0 property. So this is for Norwalk JV 22 LLC. So this ordinance change is to allow the city to use TIF funds for the JV 22 development site just south of Michael Foods. Holly, you got anything to add?
Got it.
All right, any discussion, questions from council? Public comment? Motion by Lester, seconded by Livingston. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston, Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8. Council Fire and staff updates. Jim.
Don't start full time this week, so. You can find me in that office right over there and most of the time, so. That's where I am, and we got off to a good start, and I think it's getting busier. So.
All right. Stephanie. David.
Just back, keep on Mid-American and down on Delaware, because there's 2 weeks were up a week ago and they're still not. Fix those lights. There's multiple now.
We did, those were submitted to them.
Well, first thing, I want to thank Public Works for the job they did with the personal. Glad we missed the second one. And I noticed Jim's lavish furnishings in there. Pity is spared no expense. But I also want to call the attention to my fellow council members that he's been pretty scarce since Iowa lost that game to Nebraska. And he owes me a trophy and a breakfast. And you know, I haven't seen him president of the city council meeting since that game there. Maybe there's a connection I don't know. Anyway, that concludes my remarks.
All right. Thank you for the entertainment. Luke.
Yes, so for December, we ended up with 7 single family permits. So not real great, though our average of when we did some averaging of what our past years have been, we were sitting at around 9.5 in December usually. So less than normal, but a little bit of an uptick. 212 though for the whole year. So as a year as a whole, that was relatively good. But again, we saw that slow down really the last 3 months of the year. On the rental inspection side, we're picking that program up. We've done 15 in December, and we're continuing to schedule those and getting those knocked out. Complaint side with the snowstorm and stuff, it's your normal sidewalk, snow shovel complaints, but nothing to abate so far. So people have been pretty good about getting their stuff done. So that's good. Had a pre-app meeting today for a commercial project in the Hughes that would be fronted on 28. So that's an exciting one, and hopefully have more information with you on that in the future. And then other site plan reviews, we're continuing to get through those. Those will start coming to council and P&Z here in the next few weeks, months. Most recent thing that'll be coming forward is a facade amendment redesign to the Sportsplex building. Still ends up being 100% compliant. They're just changing. The main thing they were doing was they changed the roof design, which then changed how the front of the building set up. They went from a certain type of roof to a different roof. So we'll bring that forward on P&Z on Monday and then to council on the 19th. And then we applied for a $50,000 grant through the Central Iowa Housing Trust Fund for our LMI rehab fund. So we'll pair that with the program we already have. So hopefully we'll know about that in February. And then once we kind of have an affirmative on that, we've been working on a draft agreement with the Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance to run that program for us. So Jim and I met with them before the holiday. I think we've got a pretty good draft or our agreement put together, but we want to make sure we get grant funds before we go much further with that. So.
All right, thank you. Carrie.
Sure, I wanted to give a union update. Last week, myself, Luke Nelson, Wayne and Joe went into negotiations with Public Works. Unfortunately, we were unable to come to an agreement. So we will be heading into mediation later this month. And then I was just going to report that I got to do a super fun part of my job this week, and I got to do some onboarding in the gym, and then also the library's first circulation supervisor. I really do enjoy doing that, getting to go through all the benefits that the city have, and it's an exciting, people venturing into a new journey and that sort of thing. It's fun. So excited to have both of them here. And then I sent to you earlier this week, I forwarded the employee newsletter. I hope you had a chance to look at that. If you ever have anything that you think would be good information for staff, or you want to give a shout out, feel free to let me know and I'll include it in the next month's newsletter.
Excuse me. All right, thank you. Tony.
Nothing else from you, Mayor. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Wayne.
Thank you, Mayor. Like Ed, I wanted to publicly thank the staff at Public Works. We've had a lot of call outs and extra hours over the last 2 holidays. Keeping the roads clear was certainly a challenge, but really the biggest issue we saw was the cold. Those 2 or 3 bitterly cold days. We had a lot of calls for frozen water meters in homes, frozen and broken water lines. The guys really they're busy keeping the roads clear, but they really were busy trying to help out residents and get them water service restored. So proud of them. I wanted to give them a shout out. That's it.
Thank you. Chief.
Yep, thank you. I just wanted to kind of give a quick stats here. We did end our call volume last year with 1,651 calls. That's up about 10% from the year previous. But what I think you may be interested in more than that is that our mutual aid between the 2 agencies have been down quite a bit. The utilization between the 2 agencies that we service most went from about 18.5 last year to just over 10 this calendar year. So I think that's very positive. And other notes, we are headed to Appleton, Wisconsin next week to pick up our new fire truck. So we'll have this apparatus in the station here pretty soon. So that's all I have. Thank you.
And we named the ambulance Big Red.
We
What are
did.
Gonna name this
Well, we have to see it first.
one? Well, I like that. I like that Big Red moniker.
Yeah, we'll see it first and then we'll name it.
And just hope it doesn't snow.
Well, we were supposed to go, after Christmas, and then we got to some weather and we did not want to get stranded at Appleton for Christmas. So we postponed. That's next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Chief.
Just Officers Sauer and Allen have started field training. They've been at it 2 weeks. And luckily for them, we've been busy with lots of calls, non-serious calls, but lots of calls. So they have progressed faster than most candidates do, especially in the winter. So all looks good so far.
Cool. Holly.
At the next council meeting on January 19th, we will start the procedures for an urban renewal area amendment for our first hotel project. So we'll get that moving, and then shortly after we'll start the procedure for the second hotel. Both kind of near each other, but great projects. So we're pretty excited about that. Fairway's moving along really well. Things are going good with their project. I think bulk of us will be getting together to meet with some property owners in that area because it's kind of connected to Norwalk Central, just north of it. I consider it all to be Norwalk Central. So I'm just kind of moving into that planning phase of all that land in there. So it's all cohesive and works together now that users are buying land in that area north of our new Chatham extension. And we did have a presentation today by Iowa Sports Turf. So they're one of our partners in the sports campus at Norwalk Central. And they gave us some semi-confidential at this point information about some really cool new technology that'll be first in Iowa, some of it even first in the country, in the sports and commercial components of the industry. And they'll be launching it and building it here in Norwalk. So that's pretty exciting. I think we'll get that out maybe to the media in the next month or so. And then there will be a few other press releases to watch for. One will be for the Dunn Industrial Park that's underway. Ty's been working on a drone video that you guys provided us footage for that. So we'll get that promotion out there since they have land and build to suit facilities and everything available for users. And we'll also have one for retail strategies. They're getting started now on the commercial recruitment efforts here in the next 2 weeks. So they'll put out a press release. And then Sportsplex put together a promotional video that's really cool. I should have thought to send it to Luke so he could show you guys, but very professional promotional video of Norwalk Central and the sports campus specifically. They do this all over the country, so they do a really good job at it. And the Des Moines Register has been asking us for an updated story. So we'll kind of include all of that together here in the next week. You'll see that come out. That's about it.
Jean.
To follow up on what Carrie said, I would like to thank the council again for funding the full-time circulation supervisor. Christy will be coming to just say hi at the next meeting. She is a jack of all trades and she's leading the library book club tonight, so she couldn't visit us tonight. Adding that position really helps to flesh out our leadership over there. We're much more efficient and structured having an additional full-time person. So again, thank you. I think I delivered up to everyone the January, February program calendar, lots of good stuff in there. We'd love to see you at the library for that. Judy Corcoran from Hometown Pride and the Library Foundation was going to come tonight, but something must have happened because she did not join us. And I don't want to steal all of her thunder, so I'm not going to give you the final numbers, but if you'll recall, the Library Foundation had an anonymous donor who challenged the foundation to raise $5,000 during the month of December. They did meet the challenge and it was exceeded, and I will save that full announcement for her for next time as well. And the only other thing is that we are excited because State Library of Iowa hosts online conference for libraries, and it's called ILOC, Iowa Libraries Online Conference. And the volunteer coordinator for Whiskers Trap Neuter Return and myself were accepted as one of the 8 breakout sessions for the conference. It's not a huge deal, but it's kind of nice because it's a library conference, but since it's online, it goes nationwide. So we will be presenting all about our perfect partnership with Whiskers and all of the things that they do at the library for us and with us. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Robin.
The ice rink is open, so the light is green. Green means it's open. If it's red, it means please stay off. That ice is too slushy or soft. It's January, so the time of year where Park and Recreation advertises and recruits for all of our seasonal staff. So that is rolling out. I think we released Aquatic Center position openings yesterday, and we'll be looking at park seasonal, complex seasonal, referees, all that stuff in the coming week. So if you guys see that and want to share it, that would be awesome. Shelter rentals are open and we already have people reserving space for summer, and baseball and softball field rental agreements are going up soon. So we've already, it's summer for us as soon as January hits. So that's it.
Thanks. Lindsay.
Few things, David, just to follow up on your Mid-American, I did talk to them on the 15th. They said they had to loop in their lighting specialist department, so that it could take a few weeks. I don't know what that means exactly, but I'll call them again tomorrow and let you know about that. Luke, are you gonna mention the budget work session for Dean at all, or are we unsure about that? Hold off on that?
Go ahead. I'm going to mention something about it, but go
Okay.
ahead.
So before our next regular planned council meeting, we are scheduled to have a budget work session on January 17th, which is a Tuesday. Just wanted to remind you, it starts at 5 p.m. as will the work session on the 19th. So I'll make sure we have some food for you all. I do know Jean, I think, is waiting on numbers still.
That was the comment I
Okay.
was going to.
All right. So, you know, to be determined. Jim and Luke and I, since Jim's full-time with us now, we're gonna start meeting with the various boards and commissions I think that was a request from Ed a while back. So we have our first one, I believe. I think our first one's gonna be the library in February. Yeah, so just a brief presentation to them, just get our faces out there, kind of refresh. I don't think I've ever been to any of them, so they don't even probably know who I am. Codification, I did send our code to Iowa Codification before Christmas, so I'm anxious to get that back and on the website so I can get all the other 31 ordinances off the website. And then facilities planning, feel free to talk about that at all.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so our steering committee for our facilities master planning met yesterday. That's Luke, Nelson, myself, Jean, Strabel, and Greg. And our entire planning committee will meet on the 19th. So we're just getting started, but anxious to see where that goes.
And the full group is a much larger,
Much larger. Yes.
represents a number of different departments.
Okay.
Is there an expectation on one of those budget meetings at 5 o'clock?
The 19th, it should not last more than 2 hours because we'll go directly into our regular meeting.
I mean, the.
The 17th.
We're staying here till midnight.
Clock for you.
As long as it. I'd say 2 to 3 hours.
3, yeah. Yeah. But I'll get you some.
I think we recognize after a certain amount of time, the productivity level just isn't. Not- That's probably more staff's issue.
Getting anything.
It's gonna be in Florida.
Yeah.
Don't get in.
You're saying the council's attention span is somewhat limited?
No, sorry if I came across that way.
What'd you say?
Nothing. Brian's next.
Oh, thank you. Brian.
I have nothing.
Okay.
So I am, reminder, not here on the 17th. Yeah, I will watch that session on YouTube. I won't be present even remotely. However, also on the 19th, I will not be here now because I will be traveling to New Orleans for a funeral. So I should be able to participate at least to some extent while I'm traveling online.
The funeral's probably more important.
Well, with all respect, it is.
All right. Luke.
The item I was gonna bring up on the budget that Lindsay touched on. Last year, if you recall, we were about 2 weeks late getting our numbers from the county. And when we got the numbers, there was an error there, so took a little bit longer. Unfortunately, we're seeing something similar. We're hopeful to get those numbers next week. If we get those numbers next week on Monday, that should give Jean, myself, and department heads enough time to adapt, look what those revenues are, and then proceed with our budget work session. Those numbers come at the end of the week or the following week. It's possible we'd have to do the same thing we did last year and cancel that work session or postpone it to another date. So I apologize for that. We're doing our best to make sure we pass along the importance, of getting those numbers by January 1st. Only so far we can go. Last item I have, and it reminded me because Jackie has it in front of her. It's the save the date, which I think the rest of you probably have something similar in front of you for the chamber. I would certainly encourage you to save that date, and if you can be there, that'd be great. Chamber's an important part of the community, and they love to see all the elected officials there. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Let's see, Saturday, the 13th, community chat in here at 9 a.m. We go until 10:30. It's a good time. Please come. Anybody online, please be there because it's more fun if there's more people there. And then Luke and Jim, would you please follow up with Kobe for sure and see what you guys can do? Let him know that you're looking into it. Okay. And that's all I have. So item 9 is a closed session pursuant to Iowa Code Section 2151J to discuss the purchase or sale of particular real estate only where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price the governmental body would have to pay for that property or reduce the price governmental body would receive for that property. Jim, is this valid reason to go into closed session? Yes, it is. All right, can I get a motion to move into closed session? Motion. Okay, motion by Reba, seconded by Livingston. Lincoln, we can call the roll.
Councilmember Livingston.
Yeah.
Lester.
Yes.
Baker.
Yeah.
Reba.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, it is 7:29 PM and we're gonna go into a brief recess. Before we get into close.
Hey, Mayor, I'm gonna be out of town.
Yeah. There was, I'm gonna help my wife.